Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Halfback Dynasty. My name is Brendan. We are joined today with our co-host, Tyler, the legendary Gator Sens. Tyler, how the heck you feeling, my friend?
Feeling great, Brendan. We got three things going for us today. We are so close to Dynasty football when all the moves, all of it, we'll see if it matters. Scores are coming. First Red Zone Sunday, always so much fun. 2, one tape closer to the end of the collection. Landed one today, wrapped it up, should be shipping tomorrow. And 3, everybody's favorite, Bachelor. Off the block, Brendan engaged. I mean, we got some exciting stuff on the docket here, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. That's pretty exciting, the engagement, but it's not as exciting as being one step closer to finishing that insane 80s horror VHS collection, my man. Congratulations to you too. What a time to be alive, though, Tyler. A lot of good stuff going on. Isn't that right?
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Excellent. So yeah, I know all the ladies out there are a little salty that I'm off the market, but what this did is it bought me one more year of football and fantasy football, because now the soon-to-be missus is going to be all tied up planning the wedding on Sundays. So truly, it's a blessing. It's a double blessing. But Tyler, we're 2 days away. It's Tuesday, the 6th of September. We've got the Bills versus Rams coming up here on Thursday night to kick off the season. We've got a very nice week 1. As you mentioned, we're going to see if these preseason and these off-season moves are going to pay off. For some of us, yes. For some of us, no. Overall, before we start talking about expectations or who we want to see the most, how do you think you fared this offseason?
That's an interesting question, man. As you well know, I kind of went through a mini retool in our main league. I'm not going to spoil who my quarterback is for a league winner in my mind. All in on him, as you well know. But I don't know, man. I was feeling pretty good in that league, but all the J.K. Dobbins not being ready, Travis, I'm not pleased. I don't mean this to sound bad. I'm talking strictly dynasty here. I'm not pleased James Robinson's back on the field with having ATN. So I'm feeling subpar in that league. I mean, I went from having a pretty deep bench to my bench is pretty ugly now. My other league feeling great. I think I got a really solid team in that one. And then the one that I joined with all your Chicago folk, we'll see, man. I have tried to overpay largely for Trey Lance and can't get anything done. So I'm going to keep pushing the next couple days here. But yeah, man, I'm feeling, I mean, that league kind of young, so I wasn't expecting to be great this year anyways, drafted young. One league feeling good, 2 leagues, playoff team maybe, hopefully. How you feeling, man? I know you're in like 20 leagues, so you might have to give a very general overview, but how you feeling about your teams?
I'm not sure how it happens. It just creeps up. I was trying to look at your rosters real quick. I was curious to see which player you have the most shares of, but in the 2 leagues that we're in together, your team is pretty unique. I don't really think you double up that much. I think you have a great chance of making the playoffs in the 2 we're in. I mean, you got in the Chicago League, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Tannehill. That's perfectly fine for a super flex, in my opinion. You got great young running backs, Javonte, Breece Hall, great young receivers, T. Higgins, Rashad Bateman. You've got arguably the dark horse of this year in the running back group, Rashad Penny, baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, he is one of those players, and I'm super pumped to see what happens this season because it's about time he actually gets some hype again. But
it aged well with Carson walking away. It looks better.
Perfect. And also with Walker being injured, I'm kind of concerned about Walker. He's looking like he's going to have a very slow start, and you can't have that as a running back. But, dude, your team looks great here. I forgot you even got Zach Wilson. Yeah, I think you're good there. In the league that you always lose first round of the playoffs somehow with the best team, you're primed again, brother. You're primed for another first round exit, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, that team's either going to be real fun and it's going to look like, wow, man, you really like grab Dobbins and ATN, right? Or it's going to be like, dude, what'd you do to your team? You know, it's going to go one way or the other. So,
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, dude, you got some depth. You got a lot of young guys still, which will be
for
cool.
sure.
So I
For
got a
sure.
lot of faith. I mean, for me, rebuilding in that league, I already know it's going to be a horrible year with the
Gonna be a long year, man.
yeah, it's going to suck. I got the 2023 first. So, you know, I have no one else to root for except you, my man. So my money is on you this year. I will be more than happy to place a bet that you're going to win it all.
Oh, I love that, man. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Obviously, I got two heavy hitting receivers in that league with Jefferson and Lamb.
Mhm.
Allen steady as he goes. Chris Godwin should be great. I mean, my
Great team.
team just doesn't look as safe maybe as it has in the past because of my
Mhm.
running backs, but I mean, I've kind of said it everywhere. I think J.K. Dobbins starts slow, but when you need him in the playoffs down the stretch, I think Dobbins is going to be a pretty serious running back as the year goes, you know?
He showed it 2 years ago. I think he's definitely
Yeah.
capable. So with this offseason in the books, you kind of mentioned that you were willing to trade off some depth maybe for some higher end pieces. As you've played over the years, do you think that your strategy's evolved into that? Or do you prefer to have maybe some more middle tier players, but more depth rather than a couple high tier players with less depth?
That's a good question, man. I mean, you know fairly well. I like to build around higher end wide receivers, maybe not the best of the best, but guys that are going to put up numbers, you know, like for example, Keenan Allen, you know, he's safe. He's older, he doesn't have great value, but within your lineup, he's fantastic. You know,
Mhm.
I tend to gamble a little bit more on running backs, which, you know, can go well or it can go pretty poorly because running backs are extremely expensive, you know. And in that league we're talking about, if ATN and Dobbins, one of them doesn't hit because we only start one, I mean, I'm in a lot of trouble because it's going to take a piece that I don't want to trade to get a running back. And, you know, there's just not that many great running back options anymore. So I think I like to have just a solid build, but also options on the bench, you
Mhm.
know, is kind of the way I go. I mean, it seems like the last few years, injuries overall haven't been as bad as they were the years prior. Obviously, if you had McCaffrey, Barkley, you know, if you had the guys that were hurt, you might not agree with that. But the overall, people have stayed relatively healthy, I think. So, but yeah, I still like to have a few options on the bench, you know.
Yeah, yeah, your bench is not bad. And I mean, you were already hit with the oddity and Brian Robinson being shot twice, which is
Uh,
very odd. Also, John Mechie coming down with leukemia, which, my goodness, prayers out to the Mechie family.
for
And then, of
sure, man.
course, the legendary Calvin Ridley placing a $1,500 bet,
Hey,
being suspended. I mean, you know, your whole bench turns around even more if you didn't get unlucky like that. But that's the name of the game, and that's possibly why it is more important to have some good depth because you
yeah.
can take the hits if stuff like this happens. So,
Yeah,
um,
you never know. I mean, the Brian Robinson incident for me was very tough because he looked to be their starting running back. I mean, that was huge for me to take a guy late in the second with a kind of an RB needy team, and you know that was a huge incident for me. You know, and who knows with. I mean, if Gibson hits well the first 4 weeks, what happens? You know, he's gonna miss 4 weeks at least. So
mhm.
yeah, man, you never know in the offseason with Dynasty. Your team can just look so good post Super Bowl, and then just months later, it's like, wow, what happened here? You know?
And for everyone who's playing redraft leagues, that's why it's definitely encouraged to draft only a couple days before the season
Right.
because you don't know what's going to happen. The great news is one thing I noticed this offseason, there was not that many huge season-ending injuries
Yeah.
to skill position players. There really wasn't much. I mean, you look at
Not at
last
all.
year and you had Etienne, Akers, Dobbins. I mean, all those guys went down like pretty much weeks before. So it seems like we're going a little bit better. So Yeah, that's exciting. Tyler, real quick, this is a live trade offer I just received on my phone right now. I just got a text. I got the offer right here. You're
Love
gonna
it.
tell me if I need to take this or leave it. You ready?
I'm ready, man.
So let me give you context. This is my one of my big leagues, and I'm contending, right? Here's my roster:
Okay.
12 team, PPR, big bonuses, non-super flex. Justin Herbert, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Darren Waller, Allen Robinson, Aaron Jones. I've also got Trey Lance, DeAndre Hopkins, and Brees Hall. And I've got no first or seconds in 2023, but I've got two 2024 firsts already. Here we
I
go.
think I know this team well. I think you and I have exchanged text on this team before.
Yeah, this is a heavy hitting league. The offer is,
Yeah.
do I send as a contender Aaron Jones in a 2023 third round pick to receive a 2024 first round pick and a 2024 second round pick? This would give me three 2024 first round picks that I could potentially move and try to get players of higher value than Aaron Jones to contend. Or I leave as is, and if it doesn't work out, I'm set with three firsts already the following year.
So if you were to move Jones, hypothetically, who would you plug in that spot?
I would plug in Brees Hall.
If you're all in, man, you're never going to get the value again. But no, I wouldn't do it.
You really wouldn't do it. I mean, do you feel, and I have Aaron Jones in multiple leagues, and you've had Aaron Jones in a few leagues. So at what point will Aaron Jones burn out? To me, it seems like halfway through the season, dude. I really feel that halfway through the season, Aaron Jones is going to start taking less and less carries and passes. I think A.J. Dillon is actually going to be the more successful running back this year by the end of the year. A.J. Dillon was getting like 15, 16 carries a game. I don't quote me on that. I saw that actually an hour ago when I was just watching ESPN, and I didn't realize how many carries he gets when he's in the game, dude. It's kind of absurd.
I think it's tricky because I think, honestly, the state of Green Bay is what is going to keep Aaron Jones a really good piece for a contender this year. I think he's going to catch a ton of passes. I think, yes, they're not going to rely on him as much on the ground, but Jones can break one any moment. A.J. Dillon can't. They're different in that sense. The tough thing is Dillon's probably going to steal a lot of red zone touches.
A ton.
But look at how many how many times Rodgers targeted Jones in the red zone through the air.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have, they have some exciting prospects, but Green Bay has no good receivers on their roster right now. Let's call it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Jones is going to see a tremendous amount of pass work. And again, I don't think you're going to ever get that value again, but as an out and out contender, I think the play is Jones. I really do. I honestly think Brees Hall is going to struggle a lot this year. That line is terrible. He didn't look good in the preseason. I think he's a great piece long term. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think
he does look slow. It's the game.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to help this year a whole lot. I think people are going to be disappointed with what Hall brings this year.
Well, look at JT. JT didn't come on strong until halfway through the first season. So it's
Michael Carter's not bad, man. Carter's going to get way more touches than people want to act like he's going to. So that very tricky, man. Because yes, the value is there to make that trade, but I'm not sure the value on your team is there to make that trade. Who else would you have behind Hall? Like, who are your other plug-in players?
So that's okay. Well, check this out. And I'm happy we're talking about this because, as you can tell, this is a very, very sticky situation because I'm probably the number one team right now. My team is old, though. I traded some assets to
that team's aging,
traded Najee Harris. I traded Mike Williams and Barkley to get Adams and Hill and multiple firsts, things like that, right? So I sacrificed a little bit of youth to go all in. Now, after this year, though, who knows what's going to happen? This roster could age out very quickly.
For sure.
Here's the other side to me losing a huge contending piece. I'm giving a huge contending piece to another top team, right? So that hurts, but it depends on how savvy I feel I can get to move those 2024 first and maybe pick up a like a Michael Pittman and Travis Etienne type players, right? But if you're wondering who else I have, I've got not much, man, not much. Zay Jones, which could be okay. Jacoby Myers, Devin Duvernay, which is low key a big sleeper, especially because we have kick return yards. But I don't think he's their kick return guy this year because he's their number 2 receiver in Baltimore, and that's really it, man.
Yeah, so that's a huge loss.
Risk.
Pull up the other guy's roster for me, Brendan, if you will, because it's a first and a second, right? In 2024, you're getting back.
I'm getting it. Yeah, a first and a second. Which in
I'm
all
wondering.
reality,
I'm wondering if there's a piece you and I can dig out of that roster to sub in for the second that would give you still a better option than what you have if you move Jones.
So I've already tried, just some backstory. I already tried the first plus Rashad Penny, the first plus Garrett Wilson, and the first plus Jameson Williams, and he declined all of those.
Which makes sense to me. Yeah, that's a lot to ask for Jones for sure.
It definitely
makes sense.
But you know what, though? I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Rashad Penny, right? Who knows?
Sure.
Because let's be honest, he's never been that good besides the end of last season.
He's not young either. So
he's like 26, 27. He's like the same age as Jones, man. It's insane.
Yeah.
All right. My opposing owner's roster is pretty nice. Josh Allen, Javonte Williams, Alvin Kamara, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Dawson Knox, Marquise Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Rashad Penny, Cam Akers, Amari Rodgers, Joshua Palmer, Garrett Wilson, and Jameson Williams. So the only other name that kind of stood out was Josh Palmer, but I don't know, man. I think I'd rather have the second than Palmer.
I was going to say I would throw in Palmer and keep the second, just see if he takes it. If he does, I think that's a pretty good deal because I've had Josh Palmer as one of my sleepers. Every article I've written all over the place. It's a huge gamble, but I mean, Herbert's going to throw a ton. Mike Williams is very up and down week to week. Keenan Allen, of course, going to get 20 targets a game, but Josh Palmer's a different kind of player than Mike Williams. So I could see him being more consistent in that offense than Mike Williams. So if you could get a first, second, and Palmer, I would reluctantly probably take that deal and hope that Palmer hits. And if nothing else, Palmer gives you a nice long-term piece as well.
I don't know.
I mean, that pick's probably going to be late is the other thing.
It will be late. I just don't know if Palmer holds more trade value than the 2024 first. And if I could package 3 2024 firsts, I could potentially get somebody pretty nice, right? I mean, it's 3 firsts 2 years out, but there are teams out here that are bad. I'd even low-key probably send all 3 firsts for Travis Etienne, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Well, I was going to say, man, if you make that trade, go offer a second for Keenan Allen. I mean, and then Keenan Allen's probably better week to week than Aaron Jones, and he's going to cost a fraction of the price. I mean, I think you look at a piece like Keenan Allen, or I mean, you already have Allen Robinson would have been another good one, or a Mike Evans. I mean, players that people don't ever value but are good, that, I mean, nobody likes Keenan Allen or Mike Evans, but you don't really know why. So maybe if you make that trade, even offer a single first for Mike Evans or a single 2 seconds for Keenan Allen. And then you keep your 4 firsts, 3 firsts. And I mean, I think Allen's going to be better longer than Jones. Allen doesn't rely on speed, so he's going to be able to play another 3-4 years probably.
I think I'm going to take it, dude, just for the hype of the show too. I think I'm going to do it. You know what? I mean,
the value's there, man. It's there.
I think it is. I think it is. And heaven forbid, I don't always agree with trade calculators, but I just plugged it into a trade calculator and it says it's like dead even. And the golden rule with running backs, you always got to be a year before rather than
no question.
And
no question.
I don't know, man. It's tough, but I think I'm going to do it and try to get
values there. And
Yeah,
hey, maybe Hall is exactly as advertised, and in 2 weeks you're like, well, thank God I took that trade. Maybe Hall is a top 12 running back. You don't even feel the loss of Jones,
yeah,
honestly. But I think you could go out and get a really solid veteran piece for a
yeah.
second rounder, 2 seconds, whatever.
Dude, he put a timer on this too. He put an hour
Trashy.
timer. Wow, what a guy. All
That's
right, so here
funny,
we
man.
go. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. You know what? I think it's good. I'm gonna do it. Why not? Let's shake things up, baby.
Yeah, I
Excited.
mean, Jones is definitely going the wrong way. It's just, does he hold up for another year? But again, I think you could get Keenan Allen would be my target, man. I hate to keep harping that, but Keenan Allen would be, I would be asking that. Hopefully that person's rebuilding. Give him
Mhm.
a second, and I don't know, Jacoby Myers. Who cares?
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, I'm gonna see what the league says, but wow, that was exciting, man. I'm
Good
sorry
to
to
get
go
it done.
against your wishes. You probably would have stayed. I totally get it, but I'm a lot more risky when it comes to these types of decisions, and I'm also very savvy and very persistent. So I have no doubt in my mind that I can mess around with the
Sure.
2024 first and second that I have, and get maybe two pretty solid players. So
For sure.
see what happens, man. Well, that was exciting. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
good to get it done, man.
Cool.
I wish I could get my Trey Lance trade done on the air, but man, that
Yeah,
dude's
you
just
know
not
what?
interested in fantasy.
Yeah, you've been talking about the difficulties of trying to acquire Trey Lance. I'm not sure what exactly is currently offered. Is that something you'd be willing to share, knowing that that owner may or may not listen to this episode? It's
Yeah,
completely
man.
your
I
call.
mean, we've kind of gone back and forth. I mean, I think you know the guy. I mean, he's just not overly involved right now. He's just kind of checks his thing every 3 weeks or so. So it takes a really long time to get anywhere. But
Mhm.
I've offered, I mean, obviously it's super flex 12 team. I started with, man, it was like Tannehill, Jacobs, and Penny
Mhm.
for Trey Lance and Ayuk. Wasn't
Mhm.
interested.
Mhm.
So I did the same for just Trey Lance, not interested. So I bumped it up to, I would give him either Zach Wilson or Mac Jones plus T. Higgins
Mhm.
for Trey Lance.
Mhm.
And the guy really, really likes Javonte Williams. So I said, if we can work something out around Williams, let me know. But again, he's just not super involved. So, I mean, I know he just had a kid. I'm not saying anything there. I understand.
Fantasy football is more important.
Some people just aren't as into it. So I'm not calling him out at all. Whatever, if it takes 3 weeks, it takes 3 weeks. I don't care. It's been good to have some back and forth, but
Mm.
I mean, I thought the T. Higgins and either Wilson or Mac Jones for Trey Lance a pretty good offer.
Yeah, I'd probably rather have T. Higgins and Mac Jones because I
Yeah, that's a
definitely
pretty
am
good
not
offer, I
as
think.
big of a believer in Trey Lance. I just see him struggling,
Could
honestly.
be, man.
Really
Yeah,
do. And
could be.
I mean, granted, I feel like he does fit into the offense perfectly. I feel like it's kind of like a hodgepodge of players that all are like gadget players, if you will.
Right.
Minus George Kittle, who's just like a very traditional tight end who can just power the ball once he catches it up down the field. But you got Deebo Samuel, who's pretty agile. You've got Trey Lance, who's pretty agile. You got whichever running back San Fran wants to throw back there. Clearly, it doesn't matter. So I don't know, man. I got mixed
Agreed.
opinions
Yeah,
about it.
he could go either way, man. I've been all in on him all off season, and this is my only super flex league, and all I wanted was to have Lance and Lawrence
Mm-hmm.
to build around. Was able to get Trevor Lawrence, which I didn't think I was going to be able to. So just kind of pushing hard for Lance, because Lance is he's your classic asset that if he comes out in week 1 and explodes, you're not getting him. He's that guy that if you want to put all your eggs in his basket, you do it in the offseason. Because if he does, I mean, I'm not going to say he's Lamar Jackson, but if he comes out and throws 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, but also rushes for 100 and a touchdown, you're not touching Trey Lance,
Yep, the
Not gonna
price just increased
Yeah.
dramatically.
Yeah. So
So
I'm just trying to lock him up now. But again, with a manager that just isn't always as into it as some, he might just want to hold, which I understand too. He might just, I wouldn't move Trey Lance if I had him, but
I
when
would.
somebody, I know you would. There's a bunch of guys in that league that were like, man, I wish I had Trey Lance. It's like, yeah, I do too. But if somebody throws a good enough offer at you, you might move anybody, So I'm trying to make it a fair, good trade, and I think adding Higgins to a young quarterback is pretty good.
I think so too. I think honestly Higgins is pretty close straight up in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of do too. I mean, at this point, you could say Mac Jones is better than
Mac
Trey
Jones.
Lance.
Well, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Mac Jones outscores Trey Lance this season. So who knows, man? But
yeah.
I think Trey Lance will fall under the category of players that we were going to talk about of who we are interested in seeing this season. How will they shake out in their position? Do they have competition? Do they have a chip on their shoulder? Do they have to have? Is this a year that they have to perform? Otherwise, they lose their job. I think Trey Lance, not necessarily the losing his job part, but he falls in that category of who I'm super curious to see this season. Some other notable players, Kenneth Walker versus Rashad Penny is one of them. The Brian Robinson versus Antonio Gibson was another. AJ Dillon versus Aaron Jones. Who are some players kind of in that range that you are super curious to see because you just can't predict how it would shake out for them?
I'm really interested to see what happens once healthy in Detroit's wide receiver core. You've got, most people don't like him, but Amon-Ra St. Brown's a solid player. What happens when Jameson Williams is healthy and gets in there? I'm very excited to see what happens there, to see who Jameson Williams is. I mean, who knows when he'll be out there. So obviously, like I said, Trey Lance is huge. I'm all in on him. J.K. Dobbins, we've already mentioned him, is a very, who is he? What is he? Why is it taking so long for him to be fully healthy is concerning. I don't know if that's all just posturing and gamesmanship, if you will, but why is he not 100% at this point? I mean, you've mentioned it multiple times. Travis Etienne to me is one of the most intriguing pieces heading into this season.
He's gonna fall out, man.
Yeah, I mean, what is he? He's exactly what you want in a modern running back for fantasy.
Yeah,
catches passes, and he's fast and he runs. I mean, but at the same time, what is he? And then, I mean, you've just brought up a bunch of guys that were on my list. Rashad Bateman, very intriguing to see what you got there. And then CeeDee Lamb, is he going to make that jump? Is he going to become this guy that where his value is, this guy that we all think he is, this guy that we hope he is?
I think Lamb can do it. I don't think anyone's doubting that he can't do it. I think that it just isn't as cookie cutter for him to do it. And I don't know exactly what I believe is holding him back. I just think that there's something holding him back. And I don't know what it is, but let's be honest. The path is clear for him because with Amari Cooper gone, CeeDee Lamb season is upon us. Other players, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, who knows what's going to happen with Russ cooking up in Denver, man. You got to be pretty excited for that roster. Denver's looking pretty good on offense, man.
I'm super excited to see what happens. Obviously, I think everybody knows I'm probably the biggest Jeudy truther there is out there. So, I mean, to me, this is his it's time to put up, man. Like, you've got all the skills. He's kind of like Lamb. There's something that appears to be blocking him. I don't know if gets nervous to catch sometimes, like some of the drops, but, this is kind of his year that it's either this year or it's probably not going to happen. So good call there. I'm trying to think. I think even with Trey Lance taking over, Ayuk and Samuel is a very interesting
dynamic.
Yeah, because Ayuk supposedly has just amazing chemistry with Trey Lance. So what happens to Debo? I think Debo, a lot of us feel he is a huge regression candidate. I mean, based on even the rushing touchdowns, rushing yardage.
Can't see that though, man, I just don't think you're paying attention at all because it's pretty obvious that Debo is not going to repeat what he did last
Yeah, I
year.
wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think so. And IU came on as the year went. He was like the WR 15 or something down the stretch. So tons of talent there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of interesting stuff, man. I'm excited to see Wilson and Elijah Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, two very what should be good young receivers, but we really don't know. Another guy that jumps out to me is DJ Moore. Is he ever going to score touchdowns? DJ Moore,
I hope so.
if his touchdowns don't increase, his value is going to drop pretty far, because I don't mean to undermine anybody, but 1,100 yards in the NFL anymore is just not that big of a deal.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
not. But
That
you know
used
what?
to be like, wow, I have a receiver that had 100 or 1,100 yards. Was
Used to be
huge.
1,000, man. 1,000.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's just not that big of a deal.
So, I mean, I think it's pretty much the expectation for a successful NFL team to have two really solid wide receivers and a superstar quarterback, if we're being honest. But I think that pretty much on a fantasy roster, man, you got to have everything. In Superflex, obviously, you got to have the quarterbacks. In one QB leagues, you obviously got to have the stud RBs and a great supporting cast of wide receivers. We don't really talk about tight ends much, but there's probably not much movement between the top 5 tight ends. Maybe someone will creep up there, but tight ends are pretty much same year in, year out. So they're so boring. Tight ends are so boring.
Yeah.
So boring.
Yeah, you got a couple usual suspects. Is Hawkinson going to make a jump? Is Njoku finally going to do something? You kind of have the same names that, is it their year? Albert O.
You love Njoku.
I do, man. I love him. Albert O is pretty intriguing, but I mean, word around the Denver area here is Dulcich is better than him. So,
Are you serious?
That's a lot of the hometown writers said Dulcich is pushing Albert O pretty hard for a starting role. So
that's crazy. I mean, I'm indifferent. I don't really care who gets the starting job there, but
yeah,
Albert O has been the guy who was supposed to come up after Noah Fant, but who knows, brother? It's the tight end battle that no one can ever predict. Tyler, I got one last question for you. So as we approach the first week of fantasy football in the NFL season, after week 1, what is your strategy? Are you going to hit the waivers hard? Are you going to throw a lot of, fantasy dollars down at these free agents? Are you going to hang low and just chill? Are you going to send some offers out? Are you going to panic? Are you not going to panic? What do you think?
Very interesting timing, because I just wrote an article on this today and posted it on our Patreon. So nice. Weeks 1 through even 4, my exact words were relax, take a breath. Usually the top 10 producers in week 1 through 3 doesn't make any sense at each position. And we've all done it. People continue to do it. You go out and make this huge push for a guy like a running back that came out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, I don't want to miss out on the next big thing. And then middle of the season, the person's not even a starter, So no, I think it took me a long time, many, many years, to not overreact to the first few weeks. But no, I'm just going to chill. I'm going to relax. I'm going to take it in. And as you mentioned, I mean, I've lost a combined 8 games in 3 years, haven't made it out of the first round. So at the end of the day, I ended my article with, all you got to do is make the playoffs. It doesn't matter. Just get in. How many times you see a team that's under 500 or at 500 win the championship in your league, or a team that
often,
I mean, yeah, we had 3 or 4 stacked teams in our big league last year. And one of them won the title, but the others didn't. And one of them got knocked out by my brother's team, who was far less intriguing on paper. But hey, that's what makes fantasy hard, is there is no last piece. There is no, this guy's going to put me over the top. It doesn't exist. Your team hits or they don't when you need them to. And yeah, my advice is chill. Just relax. How about you? You gonna panic, blow it up?
Panic. Yep. Sell every player. You know what? I'm very,
rid of
very
Jefferson.
Firm. Yeah. If any of my starters let me down, I'm benching them. So they're going into the pound, brother, because I'm a firm believer that in order to be on an elite team such as one that I own, you must perform. Now, I agree.
Hey.
Honestly, I always send out trades every week, so nothing will really change. Just because I'm addicted to fantasy football. But yeah, I mean, I'll play the waivers. You know, sometimes you just gotta throw you. This is how you have to approach it on the waiver wire after week one. If somebody gets hurt, then you should probably throw a ton of money on the backup. Or you don't throw any money at all and you kind of just, you play the long game. But I
Sure.
feel like there's got to be some sort of data that the best waiver wire pickups, the best in-season ads had to have come out from like weeks 1 through like 3 within the first month, because unless there's later injuries, right, or there's different movements on the depth charts, most of the guys that are worth picking up probably go within the first few weeks. So I would say just be active, be ready to spend money, or be ready to hang tight and just see how things shake out. So
And running backs probably are the most important to add, as you're mentioning, if there is an injury. I mean, running backs are hard to come by. They're super expensive. If you can grab one on the waiver that produces for you, it's better. It's great. Even if it's for a year, you're not taking your fob with you. So
agreed. And trade them for a pick. Go grab that backup quarterback and trade them.
Yep.
So
look at Cordero Patterson was 100% a waiver ad in almost every single league across the board. There's people that were able to get a first for him, multiple seconds, or he helped them win a title.
You'll never trade that fab for picks, but you can trade those players that you picked up for seconds, for thirds, even fourths, man, even fourths. Then you combine those 2 fourths, you get a third. So I don't know. It's a game of just consolidating your assets and being ready to acquire more and more and more, and making,
especially if you're rebuilding. If you can grab a 2-week hot name that you turn into a second, great. Who cares? You're never going to use them.
You just saw who I picked up. I'm not even contending yet. I just picked up 3 starting quarterbacks. Geno Smith.
Because you never know.
Yeah, I forgot who the other 2 quarterbacks were, but I was like, oh my God, we got to get these
Flacco.
guys. Yeah. Wait, who was the other guy? Flacco.
Brissett and Flacco.
Yeah, let's go. But dude,
you never know, man.
I'm gonna trade them. I'll take a third for any of those guys. Hey.
Yeah, if somebody loses 2 quarterbacks, hey, you got to start somebody.
Yeah, what a dope quarterback group, bro. I love this.
It's amazing.
I'm rostering like 6 quarterbacks being.
You got a lot. You got Trask on there, I saw. You got a lot, man.
Hey, that's how we do, brother. That's how we do.
Tyler, but you never know. Like you said, you get a 4th for him. Who cares?
You got to add up those assets, baby. Tyler, listen, man, it's been a pleasure as always. We'll get this episode up and running. We'll start doing our weekly episodes again. But I'm ready for some football, baby. Anything you want to say to the listeners before we sign off here?
Man, just enjoy this weekend. Like I said, obviously it comes every year, but this weekend's fun. It's finally here. You've done your cuts, trades, whatever. But man, just have fun this weekend. It's always fun. Just that first week, there's something about it where it's just you're just watching your phone nonstop. So
I'm having multiple TV set up, so I'm pumped.
Love it.
Gonna do anything on Sunday.
No, me either. No, I'm golfing on Saturday because it's like I'm not doing it on Sunday.
Smart man.
Not happening.
Man. Cool. Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Good luck with your week 1s. Hit us up on our social media if you have any questions. Start being active again. Check out our Patreon. And please just remember, you're in this for life.